Ladies and gents, thank you as always for joining us. We're here in London at the Breitling Boutique, and Mr. Georges Kern, the CEO, is joining me today. What a treat it is to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
So, George, before we dive into the new Avenger lineup, which we've got here, which is fantastic, just give us a quick overview, because I know people will value this at home. What's been going on in the watch world for the last couple of years? Because we seem to have gone on this incredible roller coaster, in some ways because of conditions outside of the watch world, but things have evolved really fast.
No, absolutely. I mean, you always have crisis. And I'm in the watch industry since 30 years, and I've seen many of these crises, from Lehman Brothers financial crisis to obviously COVID and everything. So we have to live with this. But the fundamental point is that the watch industry is growing and has been growing since decades, and it will continue to grow. My fear was when Apple launched the digital watch. That was the breaking point, and where I thought, okay, this might be the end of the analog watch industry. And it didn't happen. Why? Because both products are complementary. People are buying both type of products, and an analog watch will be there forever. I'm convinced. I mean, we see it in the exports of the watch industry. The trend is important. Mm-hmm. And the trend is very positive. Mm-hmm. And then you have dips. Okay, and now we're living or going through a dip because of wars, because of many consequences of these wars, energy price, inflation, etc. But the world will recover, and there are more and more rich people on the planet. There are new markets, Indonesia, India, in China. We're still nowhere. Actually, we're nowhere even in the US, when you really look into the GDP versus consumption of luxury industry. So I'm very confident on the trend. We need to manage dips. And when a market is going down, you just have to gain market share, what we are obviously doing. And we'll still have a growth this year, but not at these levels we had in the previous years.
Mm-hmm. But in many ways, the watch world for me is magical, because it's almost the solace in the times. We saw this during the pandemic, where people had that time to spend on their passions. They had the time to invest in their interests. In many ways, the watch world, for me at least, it still has that magic to it, that you can almost escape the realities of the world and get involved in your passion and celebrate that. Since you came into Breitling, 2017, you arrived. What have you been most excited about? What have you enjoyed the most as a watch lover, as a leader?
What I enjoyed is when I discovered what the real history of Breitling was. I signed the contract. I thought we will do better. And then I discovered Fred Mandelbaum. I Googled, I made a little bit of research. I found him in Vienna. He's the biggest collector of Breitling in the world. I went to see him. I walked into his boardroom, and there were probably 100 pieces on the table. And at that point in time, I realized that we're going to be really a very successful company. What we faced 5 years ago were two totally different communities. The community of the years 2000. Big, loud pilot's watches, mm-hmm. and then the community of the Breitling lovers from the 1930s to the 1980s. Two different communities. They weren't talking to each other, and we had to bridge them. And what we decided is to create a brand which encompasses both. I mean, it's why we relaunched the Premier or the Top Time, or we relaunched the Super Ocean based on the slow motion, etc. But still keeping, I would say, the icons like the Navi Timer, or relaunching in a smart way the Chronomat. So today we're journalist brands. We have fantastic lines, and I think yes, we were able to unify all type of Breitling lovers.
I think it's one of the most interesting parts of the watch world is the area that I think you excel in the most, is the storytelling and bringing the different elements of history to the design and the execution of the product. And I can't help but think, I know those two different camps you're talking about, because I remember going on cruises in America 10, 15 years ago, and I'd always see Breitling feature heavily in those environments. And then you'd see those vintage pieces. But I guess the challenge is fusing the vintage design and inspiration without necessarily always looking backwards, because in the watch world, we're quite good, and we have been for a few years now, at rehashing old models. How do you bridge the gap and move forward without just doing reissues, but making some magic on top of that?
We don't want to be a vintage brand. Our design code or design language, we call it modern retro, which is very different from vintage. So we have modernity, but there's a retro element in it, because I believe that a successful design or a good idea, if it's really good, it's good forever. It's like a Rolling Stones song. It's good forever. It's a Beatles song. It's good forever. You have designs in fashion from Chanel, Hermes, or bags from Hermes. They're good forever. So we took these elements, in particular in the Premier or in the Top Time or in the Super Ocean or with the bullet bracelet of the Chronomark, because it's just good. But modernized it, obviously, make it to make it contemporary, and therefore you have a certain style, but in a very contemporary way, and this worked. It just worked. And today, I think we're a very compact brand. When you look at boutiques, when you look at our advertising, when you look at our products, everything fits. It is a compact entity. Yes, and the Avenger is a very good, we'll talk about the Avenger a little later, it's a very good example. The brand changed, and today, and you see it in the Avenger, we are more a sports chic product than a hardcore professional tool product. So it's a little bit more sophisticated, and we've been, for instance, on the Avenger, reworking many things, the pushers, the attachments, etc. It is still bold, but for sure more sophisticated and more chic than the previous models. But today, the whole collection is or corresponds to that spirit. So it's why it makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. And I think what's really interesting to me is I've seen how you've almost taken presentations that would sometimes be left for internal teams, in the sense that you came into the business, you refined and cleared the land, sea and air offer. You clearly defined that. And sometimes brands, I think, would keep that information maybe to their own teams as a way of presenting it. But I think it was a conscious effort to share that with the public and the collector community, to say, this is what we're about, this is what we're providing. And on top of that, you've then got the development of movements in-house, as well as reformatting models from the past. And we'll come to that.
It's true. But the point is, we're a generalist brand. So it's why we need to communicate these three segments, air, land, and sea, because we offer, if I take the analogy of cars, we need we offer cabriolets, convertibles, coupes, SUVs, limousines. We have it, and we need to explain to the public, yes, you have diving watches, yes, you have classic watches, yes, you have pilot's watches, and this is why we need to communicate it. Why hiding it? It's a strength. We are probably one of the only journalist watch brand in the market, and this is why we have also many repeat customers, which is very important, especially when you run so many boutiques as we do. So yes, this is our positioning. What is interesting is we defined air, land, and sea after talking to collectors like Fred, and a couple of months later, we found an old advertising from Willy Breitling, who also advertised air, land, and sea. And then we said, oh my God, we think alike here. So and it works.
The point you raised about being generalist is very interesting, because you know more than anybody else out there that a brand needs icons. It needs those designs that people can associate with the company. And of course, the Navitimer is the one that everybody jumps to when they think of Breitling. But when I looked at the new Avenger lineup, the interesting thing to me is there are a couple of key design elements here that are very bold. This bezel is distinctly Avenger, and to me can only be Breitling.
Yeah. Now, of course, we need to have a design language. And if you look at, you know, in the car industry, you recognize a Mercedes, you recognize a BMW, you recognize an Aston Martin. Also in fashion, you know, you have great brands with clear identity. And as a brand, you need to have an identity. But it doesn't mean that everything has to be the same. And an Avenger is very different from a Premier, very different. Still, you feel a style and you feel that compact appearance of the brand. And this is what makes Breitling so successful, because we have a very diverse offering. I don't know one single client or person who is interested in watches who doesn't like at least one of our lines. It doesn't exist.
Let's talk about the Avenger lineup specifically. Now, we've got three key executions: 44mm GMT, 44mm chronograph, 42mm time only. And then the kicker. So just give us an overview. What do you like about this range? What were you thinking? What was the design process internally?
I mean, it's all a question of evolution. You know, when we took over the brand, the average price was around $4,500 US dollars. We're now at 6,700, 6,800. And at that price point, you need to offer the best materials. We are not in coated steel anymore. We have, in this particular model, we have a carbon dial, we have ceramic bezel, we have titanium pushers, we have a beautiful folding buckle, great quality of leather. Yes, I mean, this is what I think a customer is expecting at these price points. And you're right, we basically changed all our chronograph movements now into our B01. We're probably one of the biggest manufacturers of chronographs in the world. It's a very solid chronograph. It really works very well, and it all makes sense.
Out of the lineup, which is your particular favorite? I've heard that you like the green dial. How would you describe this? Is this sage green? Is this mint green? What is this?
You know, what we've tried to do here also with the blue, we've tried to define other colors, different tones of green, different tones of blue. And this is same thing. You know, I look a lot into the car industry, and I've seen Jeeps like this with this color, these military Jeeps. You have Range Rovers in these colors. You have also the blue is very different. It's also military blue.
This is almost pastel to me, almost a pastel-y color. It's got you're right, it's a different blue. It's a softer blue in some ways to me.
It's soft. I mean, it is a bold watch.
Yes.
But the color is really particular and very powerful and very different. As you can see on that model, we worked a lot on the surfaces of the case. We were very much polished. I mean, Breitling was very bling bling in a way, which we tried to change, but keeping contrasts on the watch. So we have satin finish, we have polished finish, but in a very settled way, which gives it a very nice look and feel. And yes, we have been working a lot on the colors of this collection, and people said we are happy, you know, like the series, Happy Days brand, because we're an optimist brand, so we like these kind of colors.
Yeah, so finishing, that's an interesting point. So the bezel is polished. So we've got polished bezel, we've got polished crown, we've got satin finish case, which is really by itself, to me, and I find that fascinating in watch design, is that's an art by itself, deciding what you polish, what you don't.
We made so many prototypes, you have no idea. You have no idea.
And it seems to me like we're moving into a chapter of color. I feel that Breitling has been doing this now for a few years, but color is a fundamental part of the design of any watch from any brand right now, be it the strap color, be it the dial color.
Absolutely.
This comes in a myriad of different colors. Could you have extended that to many more? How did you stick to the certain number that you've given us in each execution?
Indeed, I mean, remember when we launched the pistachio green on the Premier, which was shocking on a very classic watch. Then we introduced also ice blue in many lines. I think we had very cool. We had a capsule collection, what we call for ladies the Pastel Paradise collection. We are a colorful brand. I love colors. I'm not one of these creative guys wearing only black shirts and black jackets and black trousers. I think it's as I said, I'm an optimist, and we should be optimistic. And I think colors adds into life. But you can see it in the whole watch industry is certainly looking at what we're doing. And I see very similar colors now in many other brands, which is fine.
We have to touch on the movement, because you commented on the fact that you're now a huge chronograph producer, one of the biggest in the industry. You're also now developing your own automatic caliber. Just give us an idea. I didn't check if this is embargoed or not, but are we allowed to talk about the new development of your caliber?
No, it's not a secret. I mean, everybody knows that we're working on an in-house automatic. We are in the homologation phase. It's a great movement. It's a very, I would say, no risk movement. It has to work and to always work. So this is what I told the team. I don't want any problems with this movement. The diameter is bigger than what you would find in the industry. So it's slightly bigger. We had until now zero problem in the homologation, which means that the development was very good. And hopefully we'll have it by end of next year, beginning of the following year.
And which is your favorite from the Avenger lineup? You could just pick one.
I mean, well, today I wear these.
You've got the herringbone going on with the peak lapel,
with the jacket,
khaki.
But I have I took for myself the green one and the blue one. Actually, I have all three colors.
Very cool. And am I correct in saying that Breitling will be back at Watches and Wonders at some point, or what is the future hold?
Not next year. Yep. We will see. We will see how things develop. Again, for me, a watch fair should be a cultural event, where the whole watch industry should be present. But do we need a fair to sell watches? No. I mean, we're presenting the Avenger now, not last March or next March. In a digital age anyway, we say we want to be from catwalk to the store, meaning we present the product, boom, it's available. And this product is available now. So we don't want consumers to wait. So we have different launches during the year. So we don't want to concentrate on one event. As a cultural event where we talk about craftsmanship, about Swiss quality, etc., I think then it will make even more sense.
Are we a long way from that, do you think? Because I was surprised that we managed to get as many big brands together under one roof at Watches and Wonders now that I never thought would necessarily come together, but did and have.
I hope so. Because this would make sense for the whole watch industry, but there are some major players which are not yet present, as you know, and I think I hope it will change. Mm-hmm.